How different individual and social factors affect academic careers. In today's boundaryless career world, it is usual for researchers to take a more flexible approach to pursue their career success across institutions or even social sectors. This research question has attracted the attention of both sociologists and general researchers for a long time. Sociologists focus on how different factors influence academic career performances. General researchers are concerned with how to raise scientific productions and achieve their career success. By harvesting multiple sources of these researcher data, we adopt a dynamic perspective to understand how individual and social factors will influence a researcher's career success by using an interactive visual analytics approach. We present our system, ACSeeker, an interactive visual analytics system for identifying and exploring insightful patterns of academic careers with multiple factors. Our system has three major parts. The factor view is provided for general rule inspection over the whole population. The cluster view is used for the summary and comparison of different groups. The person view is for a detailed analysis of individual careers. In this video, we demonstrate a case study to explore the individual and social impacts on academic careers. The expert first began with the factor view to obtain an outline of all the factors. From the horizon charts, the individual factors had played an essential role in the early era, while gradually moderated their influence recently. On the contrary, social factors, though did not contribute much at the beginning, had been increasingly important. Hovering on the horizon charts, he found individual factor impacts were higher than the social factors across time. The expert noticed that the first individual factor outperformed the other two individual factors. He wondered how different types of historical careers affected the researcher's career success. Thus, he chose this factor and turned to the impact timeline on the right side. In the matrix line, each matrix represents a time window, which corresponds to the result of our model. We divide the matrix into an upper triangle and a lower triangle to show the pairwise p-values and the coefficients respectively. In the upper triangle, each cell represents a pairwise p-value. The saturation indicates a range of p-values. The darker the saturation, the smaller the p-values. In the lower triangle, each cell shows the coefficient of pairwise categories. Red encodes the positive values and blue shows the negative values. The saturation encodes the absolute values. The bar chart and pie charts above the matrix summarize the population and the proportions of each category respectively. Users can specify the reference group by clicking one of the clusters on the left. Then they can choose the target group above to have a longitudinal comparison with the reference group. Two cells representing the p-value and the coefficient will be highlighted across time. The target category will also be added to a cluster view for detailed analysis. A navigator is designed to provide a temporal overview of the above two values, based on the target and reference groups. It is a timeline with a dual y-axis that represents the p-value and coefficient. A stepped line chart in green shows the p-values and the line chart reviews the coefficient. The color of the circle on the line chart indicates the positive and negative values with the same color scheme in the matrix. Users can quickly find the period of interest and drag the time window to analyze the detailed information in the matrix line. Let's go back to the case. In the matrix line, from the upper triangle, all pairwise clusters are significantly different. The coefficients were with different positive and negative effects. He found senior researchers with a high citation rank existed across most of the periods, so he clicked it as the reference cluster. Choosing other clusters as targets, he found that the temporal trend of each cluster had not changed much. This means researchers on historical careers always have a strong and stable influence on their current careers. These have proved the viewpoint that one has to fight for themselves. He also wondered how the career types in the collaborators affect researchers' careers. In the matrix line, he highlighted cluster S3 for detailed analysis, since it had a significant positive effect at the second time window. From the Navigator, the expert observed that this group of collaborators mostly had a negative impact on the career performance at first, like before 2010, and began to positively influence the career after around 2011. The expert explained this might be related to the time lagging of the impact of innovative works with these seniors. After having an overview of the whole population, the expert wondered how people differed from a similar starting point. Turning to the cluster view, the historical sequences in this cluster were summarized as career glyphs by year. The career glyph uses a somber structure with two levels of hierarchy to show the career sequence event distribution. The inner ring shows the job levels with 3 colors. The outer ring encodes 5 citation ranks with black color at 5 types of saturation. The domain glyph is a donut chart that records the distribution of the most frequently published paper venue types in the cluster. We highlight the visualization venues as red and others as gray to provide a clear comparison of visualization researchers' domain diversity. The sector glyph is also a donut chart showing the social sector distribution. Blue for the academy, green for industry, and yellow for the government agency. Among those career sequence clusters, he found that among all the clusters he had added before, the 5th cluster, whose time window was special due to high homogeneity of career distribution and high number of citations at dependent variable year. Thus, he chose this cluster to compare future career performance. In the person view, each line represents the career trajectories and the change of different factors of a researcher. 2 modes are supported to show the individual information at 2 levels of detail. In the folded mode, each career event is represented as a circle. The color of the circle shows the job levels. The darker the color, the higher the level. The center strip represents the social sectors of the researcher. The color scheme is the same as that of the sector glyph. 2 flat gray areas distributed above and below the sector strip depict the collaborator and domain diversity scores of the researchers, respectively. The outer light blue area shows the predicted citations of the researchers using the regression model. Users can click to unfold the collaborator diversity score area to study more details about the researchers' collaborators. A multi-line graph showing the collaborators' different diversity scores are presented. Users can click one of the lines to show the summary of the collaborators' population distribution of the specific diversity via 3 different glyphs. The predicted citations of most researchers in the cluster displayed a similar growth trend during 1998 and 2004, which had a slight rise or still stayed steady later. However, the first researcher acted differently with a citation surge during the final several years. He also had a particularly high collaboration diversity score compared with others. The expert then unfolded the collaboration diversity area and found that the first researcher had been collaborating with scholars from different sectors. Hovering on career dots, the expert found that the first researcher changed research topics from robotics to vision. The expert unfolded the first other 10 researchers as representatives to check their collaboration diversities. Most of them were with some low diversity scores. The expert explained that the first researcher is a case of the Matthew effect in career analysis. Pursuing trendy research topics and seeking diverse collaborations were potentially essential for the first researcher to get research impacts improved.